Go ahead and call everyone to the table, please. I will call this meeting to order at 6:02. This is a special meeting for Thursday, May 4th, 2023, for a budget public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
I will. I'm expecting Tim Hale, Stephanie Nowers here, Dee McKee, Robert Yunt,
Here.
Moki Tu,
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff is on his way, and I'm also expecting Ron Bernier. You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. If you'll all rise, please, and I'll lead in the pledge this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sonia, will you turn the mic on as you go by?
The next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone is welcome to address the assembly on any subject. It doesn't have to be something on the agenda. And so with that, I will open audience participation. Oh, we do have a sign up. Okay. Chris?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Tyree. I came to talk about the budget for the school. There's a few things I'm not too happy with them doing, and one of them is the NEA president makes $500,000 a year. She's got $1.1 million to travel with. She's endorsed Biden, and in my opinion, the teachers union they shouldn't be biased that way. I don't care if what they do on their own time and stuff. I think the teachers should be allowed to do it on their own without being reinforced by NEA to do something else. And there's a lot of pressure on the teachers on that kind of stuff. And I think that's wrong. And I don't want to spend my money on that kind of stuff anyways. So, and I know it's teachers doing it, but we're paying the teachers. Another thing is they have Monday mornings. School starts later because they're doing some kind of program where the teachers are making sure that the teachers are teaching the correct way. Well, in my opinion, it's more of an indoctrination class. And are you going along with the party line and making sure you stay in the party because I don't think it's really teaching the kids to teach. They're just not teaching as well as they used to. When I was a kid, the teachers did not go to different classes all the time and leave. They didn't have to have substitutes all the time. They do that now. And that's terrible. That's just spending extra money. There's so many ways that they could quit spending money. They encourage a lot of people to get their masters. Well, we can't afford to have that many people have masters. I'm not rich. Everybody around here is not rich. These people need to start realizing they've got to start budgeting differently. And I love teachers. I came to America not speaking English, and teachers were wonderful for me with learning the language. And in fact, I used to leave my classroom all the time to go to the library. And that's another thing too, is budgeting the libraries. If the teachers are not, the librarians are not going to listen to the parents on porn and different, like the trans. I don't have anything against them, but to me, that's living a lie. And the teachers are living a lie and promoting a lie. And I don't like that. And I don't think that should be forced down our throat, and the pronouns being forced down our throat. Let them do what they want to, but don't make it a public affair. It's wrong. Don't push it. And if the librarians are not going to listen to the parents, the children do not belong to the state or to the government. They belong to the people. And they're not asking the parents, do you mind us doing pornography? Do you mind us doing this or that? They're not asking us. And they should be. They should be informing. There's a lot of young adults that don't know what's going on behind their back. And it's really sad. Jackie showed somebody some stuff, and we told them, tell other people about it, because that couple flipped out seeing what was in the book. So we need to start thinking about all of this with our children. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Chris. The next person that signed up under audience participation is Nancy.
Hi, my name
Hi.
is Nancy Bertels. In a year where libraries and librarians in general have taken a beating, I'm here to ask you to continue to support our borough public libraries and their requested budgets. For a moment, put aside all those new, recently perceived notions about our libraries. I've spent many, many, many years using, working in, and supporting our libraries. Libraries in Matsu continue to be the one facility in our communities that are open to everyone. Free services that they provide are increasingly important to families and individuals as inflation continues to put pressure on what families can afford. Things like internet access, special programs, presentations for everyone. There are places in small communities that provide connections to books and materials, to other people, to local government via their community councils and other local informational meetings. At the Sutton Library, there's been a 44% increase in visitors through the door as compared to the same 4 months last year. Additionally, there's been a 21% increase in patrons checking out library material. A visit to any one of our facilities will find not just books and material in many formats. You'll find people and programs and buildings that are full of life. I'm a taxpayer in District 1, the district with the highest mill rates in the borough. I do have concerns about where some of my tax dollars are being spent, and I trust you will hold the line or reduce our current mill rate. But I don't question that $41 a year that support our borough libraries. The money that the borough supplies to support libraries is well spent and brings so much joy and so many resources to so many people. Please continue to support them. Make a visit to your local library, to attend a program, a local meeting, or maybe even browse those controversial bookshelves. I hope I see you there. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. Jackie? And let the record show that Assemblyperson Fauna arrived at 6:03.
Mayor and Assembly members, thank you for hearing me today. I fell in love with libraries in 3rd grade when I found out my name had a Q in it, and it wasn't Jackie, it was Jacqueline. I earned an award in 6th grade for being the student that checked out the most books in the library. I love books, I always have. I'm the most prodigious reader you've ever seen. They would hold a stack back for me every week to come and check out. But I assumed everything between the cover was treasure. It was absolute treasure. If I wanted a pornographic book, which I never have, I knew I would go to an adult bookstore to get one. It wasn't in the library. The library just had knowledge and adventures and all kinds of things. And I want you to know that the librarians went to a conference last month in Fairbanks. Permeated throughout the conference was the notion that librarians are waging an ideological battle against conservative, religious, and traditionally minded families. They were characterized as threats to the library's mission of helping the youth and others question and or undermine long-established cultural, religious, and moral values. The disdain for those who challenge books was overwhelmingly present during the Alaska Library Association meeting. During one workshop, the Fairbanks Borough Library Collections librarian, Davin Helkenberg, urged attendees to push back against parents who object about sexualized children's books. She actually said sexualized fiction is meant to teach lessons about sex and relationships for the reader to carry away the important information and incorporate it into their lives. Additionally, these books can connect youth to the larger queer community while normalizing non-heterosexual sex, including how to perform certain sexual acts. For youths who come from what she called conservative families, sexualized novels are a kind of safe or secret source for kids. They're not as obvious as a nonfiction book on sexuality, she explained. That means parents would often not question the reading of the materials. The information is kind of hidden within. That's exactly what it is. No one attending the workshop openly objected to the notion that children should be exposed to highly sexualized books, and several boasted about how they secretly help teens find graphic sexual romance novels. Helkenberg's personal research has also indicated that teens want more access to books that contain sexual bondage and sadomasochistic scenes, as well as more novels with detailed and descriptive sexual encounters. She said these books are not only appropriate for young people, they have a potential to contribute to their well-being, and librarians have a responsibility to stock these types of books for their young patrons. That's not what a library is. A librarian's mission is not to change children's moral standards. It's to provide information and open up a world of information for everybody to seek. To put pornographic books inside the covers of these books is akin to child abuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Thank you, Mayor, Assembly. What in the devil is going on in our nation and in our state? I think devil has a little something to do with it. Our children are supposed to be protected by adults, teachers, counselors, and they're not being protected. They're being indoctrinated into demonic garbage. I mean, weird sexual, sadomasochistic, bondage, homosexual, all kinds of weird sexual that's going on in our schools. What is going on? We have to stop this. We can't have these snakes in our libraries or in our schools or as counselors. One of those counselors got a hold of one of my granddaughters in Minnesota. I'm surprised that she's still walking around. That gathering they had, the Librarians Association, there was a gal there from Ketchikan, Pat Tully. She boasted that she and her colleagues remained resolute in their determination to expose children to these ideas. What is going on? Tully noted that tensions remain high. Earlier this year, the library faced the first book challenge, and it's about let's talk about it. That's homosexual sex. Our 12-year-olds or younger don't need to hear this. Tully has no plans to dial back her activism. It's an activism is what it is. It's indoctrination, especially with regards to pushing controversial children's literature. Tully said she conferred with the borough attorney and decided that because the library is a government program, it could not sponsor an event that included a particular religious perspective. Satanism is a religion, in case you didn't know. After the Revolutionary War, when the United States acquired new Western territory, the Confederation Congress was concerned about immorality and corruption in the new territories and stressed the importance of teaching the Bible, morality, and religion in these regions. They thus enacted a law that encouraged education for the teaching of religion and morality in schools, known as the Northwest Ordinance in 1787. This ordinance required all new states to build schools. Article 3 of the ordinance stated, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. The Northwest Ordinance was reapproved in 1789 by the first U.S. Congress under President George Washington. Since they did not view government encouragement, since Congress adopted both this ordinance and the First Amendment, they did not view government encouragement of moral education as a violation of the First Amendment, no establishment clause. The No Establishment Clause permitted the national government's encouragement of the teaching of religion and morality in schools. God states very clearly that homosexuality and sexual deviation is an abomination, and that the sexually explicit books that are secretly being given to our young children in libraries, secretly, are immoral. And these disgusting books do have a religious perspective, and it is demonic. We need to get them out.
Okay, Karen, I don't think you said your name. I
Karen
said
Lewis.
your name. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? We have one person online. Okay, whoever's online, please go ahead and speak.
Hello, my name is Derek Anderson. Can you hear me?
They're turning you up just a minute, sir, please. Go ahead.
Check 1, 2. This is Eric Anderson. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Assembly. I just had a question. I've been reaching out to some people I know on the local levels as far as city council and some people that are associated with the games, but has the borough taken a position, and I know I probably won't get an answer back here, but I just want to bring up the question. Has the borough taken a position with the Arctic Winter Games and transgender athletes? And the reason I ask that is because it seems like there's a lot of various opinions floating around about certain things, specifically libraries, books, transgender people in public areas. And I was just wondering if maybe the borough and the cities collectively that are involved with the Arctic Winter Games have a policy or have thought about a policy, or even just, here's the question: what happens if this comes up? Okay, that's my question. So anyway, thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have anyone else online? No. Okay. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the assembly under audience participation? Okay. Seeing and hearing no one, we'll go ahead and close audience participation. The next item is a public hearing. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 23023, an ordinance appropriating monies from the central treasury for the borough operating funds, enterprise funds, educating operating fund, and capital funds, establishing the rate of levy for all borough functions for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024, and setting the surcharge rate for the wireline and wireless enhanced 911 systems for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Okay. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and we do have a couple of people that would like to testify. Jackie, did you want to testify on the public hearing for the budget?
Madam Mayor and Assembly, I'm Jackie Goforth. Thank you again for hearing from me. I am a taxpayer here. I have spent 20-something years in Alaska. I'm sorry I wasn't born here, although I did, change the era of my ways when I moved here. And I want you to know that my hard-earned tax money should not be used to pay union dues for anyone. I was a government postal manager for 25 years, and we didn't pay for the union dues from the employees. They paid them. We didn't pay for them to go to conferences, especially if the conference is going to teach them how to fight the moral values that are held by everybody just about everybody that I am aware of. I have found so many people that I have spoken to that are also finding what happened at the library conference. And it doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. It should not be the borough paying to send any librarian to a library conference. It should not be any borough budget to pay any of their dues. In fact, if we could defund a few of them, I'd be behind that too. So I would like to please speak out against putting anything in the budget to send the librarians to a conference from the ALA or any of their unions and to pay any union dues. Thank you.
Mark?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly. I've never seen the chamber so quiet. Again, my name is Mark Austin. I'm the Executive Director at the Muskox Firm. I also chair the board of the Matsu CVB. First, thank you for all your efforts putting together the budget. I know a very small degree of what you're dealing with, and greatly appreciate the effort you put into it. Super exciting time for the CVB. We are very excited to be welcoming the Arctic Winter Games coming up next year. And as well, we are about to break ground, hopefully in the next however many months, to our new visitor center, Gateway Visitor Center. The Arctic Winter Games coming up is, and arguably a result to some degree of the work that the CVB has done over these last decades. And this will be indisputably the greatest economic gain the borough ever would have noticed during the winter months. We're also, with this visitors center, looking forward to bringing more people to the Valley, being a bigger part of our community, and giving a place to people within our community to congregate and appreciate what we do. As you ponder the budget that's coming up, I encourage you to fully fund and make sure that the CVB is able to do the good work that it does every day. When you look at monies that are spent in the borough budget and the investment that's returned to the borough, we're certainly one of the institutions that actually gives you an incredible return through bed tax, people spending money in the Valley as they come to visit. They take pictures, take memories. They leave the borough in a better shape than when they left. It's outside dollars. They come in to support the borough. So please continue your generous support of the CVB and allow the CVB to do the good work it does to make the borough a better place all the time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the assembly on the ordinance for the budget for the coming year, ordinance 23-023? Okay, do we have anybody online? We do not have anybody online. Anyone else want to speak?
Mayor, this is Ron Bernier.
Oh,
And
okay.
I've been
Thank you,
on
sir.
the-
We didn't
On the
realize
line 612. Sure.
612. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't see anybody else from the audience. Katie, do you want to come up and talk to us, please?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly, and staff. I am Katie Gardner, Deputy Superintendent for the Mat-Su School District. I appreciate the opportunity to address the Assembly tonight. I wanted to provide a brief update on our school board meeting, our regular school board meeting from yesterday. The board did pass a resolution, and the resolution was an amended request for local education funding from the Mat-Su Borough. A reduction in our request from 77 million to 72 million. And while we've provided the copy of the signed resolution to the manager, I wanted to make sure that I just provided a little context regarding why the board made that decision last night. I think there's kind of four primary reasons, and I'll try to review them very briefly. I know four sounds like a lot. First, I think, and probably the most important, is both the board as well as the district administration really desire having a productive, effective, and meaningful relationship with the Assembly. And it seems like on an annual basis, we have some knocking of heads and back and forth over the budget, and we believe that we can more effectively work together. There's lots of examples where we do that. Mat-Su Central School, I think, is a great example. Everyone's very excited to see that building come together, and other smaller examples. The manager and I were on a call yesterday where we jointly participate in insurance marketing. So there's lots of examples. We'd like to see that continue with the budget. I think the second reason is that we heard the concerns that were expressed amongst many of the Assembly members during the joint meeting. While increases in the assessed valuation impact schools in a different way than they do the Assembly and the tax base, it does impact the money that we have from the state. We also recognize what it means for property owners, and we recognize the desire of the Assembly to provide some relief to those property owners, especially in these years where we really sort of have these unprecedented increases. I think the third reason is that we do want to be part of a sustainable fiscal plan, and to the extent that we can work together to figure out what that looks like, especially right now when we're seeing an end to the ordinance that has provided some predictability, though under very different context, I recognize. We do want to continue to partner and work together and have sustainability. We've appreciated some of the comments from Assembly members on how we might be able to do that. Whether it's figuring out a split and how that funding comes to the school district, whether it's future discussions about capital planning and pooling our resources in an effective way, we want to be part of that discussion regarding a sustainable plan. And then really the final reason for our decision is that we have the flexibility this year to make up that $5 million reduction. We presented to the school board last night how we would sort of bridge this gap, and we can do it in a way that does not impact significantly our operations. And so if there is a time for us to propose this reduction and try to work collaboratively with the borough, it's a good time for us to do it. So I wanted to make sure that not only did we transmit the resolution, but also had an opportunity to share some of the context and the underlying reasons for that, and just appreciate the discussions and the work that is to come as you all weigh all of the varying interests that you'll have to in the coming weeks regarding your budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, this isn't the, sorry.
Mike saying yes.
Oh, you want to have some interaction?
I think if the assembly wants to have all the information going into deliberations, this is probably the best opportunity to get that information if it's
It's fine with
allowable.
me. Is there anything we need to do regarding suspension of rules or anything like that in order to have a dialogue during the public hearing?
Madam Mayor, we are under public hearing right now.
Right.
However, Katie came up and testified under public hearing. I think this is a big part of the Mat-Su budget, but ultimately it's up to the assembly whether you can ask questions during this
Okay.
time.
Does anybody have any objection of the assembly having a dialogue with Katie? Okay, I don't hear. Do we have any assembly people? Yeah, assembly person, one assembly person is online, right? So do I hear any objection? Okay, I don't hear any objection. So Assembly Person Vaughn, I would recognize you now for your question or comment, sir.
This is not budget related. There was some changes that were made to some of the issues that were earlier brought up as far as library and how the process goes as far as the the books going in and all that process. And I think there was Borough was working on the establishing a committee. Is there any progress that you can give us on that, how it is and how many people might?
Yeah, my opinion, the exemption was just to have dialogue with what the changes school board has requested on the budget. Okay, all right. So, yes, Assemblyperson McKee?
About halfway down the page, it says, whereas the school district has experienced unexpected savings in the area of pupil transportation. What does that mean?
Through the mayor, Ms. McKee, thank you for the question. As the assembly, I know, is well aware, the school district this year experienced not only a school bus driver strike, but also a failure in services that were provided by our current bus company. And so as a result of that, we have not expended the contract fully because we have not had full service this school year. And so while the district does receive a grant from the state of Alaska for pupil transportation funding, that grant does not cover 100% of the pupil transportation costs, which means that for the fiscal year 23 school year, we anticipated approximately about $3.5 million, I believe, in general fund dollars being used to support pupil transportation. We have not had to use those $3.5 million. In addition, we expect to end the year with about $1 million fund balance in pupil transportation. So the savings in pupil transportation from the current year will likely, in a majority of them, will increase our year-ending fund balance. And in addition, it means that the $4 million that we had projected to have to transfer for pupil transportation for fiscal year 24, we will only have to transfer about $3 million in the worst case scenario. So that $1 million that will be available to offset spending in fiscal year 2024 is part of what helps us bridge that $5 million difference in last night's approved resolution.
Another question. On Mondays, can you tell me about what happens with bus service on Mondays?
Of course, through the mayor, bus service is provided on Mondays with the exception of 10 routes that serve Swanson and Sherrod Elementary, as well as some families for Palmer Middle, Palmer High School. We still have a small rolling bus cancellation. So there are schools that Monday is their rolling bus cancellation, but for a majority of schools, transportation is provided on Mondays. It's about an hour later than the other days of the week.
And why is that happening?
Through the mayor, the bus service is happening later as a result of the PLC Team Time Mondays. School starts an hour later on Mondays.
You okay? Thank you.
Okay, the discussion should center around the budget, so assembly person hours.
Just more a comment than anything else. I really appreciate the school district being willing to work with us as assembly to reduce the load on property tax payers. And I realize that was something that, we're working hand in hand on this. So I hope that, the reciprocation continues to go both ways. And I do really appreciate it because we're kind of in a little bit of a pickle with, it's a good pickle with property values going up, but it's tricky with the budget. So thank you. Of course.
Deputy Mayor?
I as well wanted to say thank you. I feel like the last couple budget seasons, as well, like you mentioned earlier, there maybe was a little bit of tension, but it was from 14 members of the community that love this place very much so. And it's, I think it's going to wind up just as amazing this year as it did last year. Matsu Central was a huge partnership that we formed. We both worked very hard to get that done together. And I'm very grateful for the school district and the school board's amendment or resolution. And just wanted to say I appreciate that. So thank you.
Assembly person Fana, do you have comment?
About what?
Your light is on.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Yes, Assembly person McKee.
Yeah, another question. How long is the Durham bus, whatever it is?
No. Oh, I don't know. Is that enough of a budget?
I'm sorry? It does have to do with the budget because I was just wondering how long the contract was. So if every year if they, because it's really been kind of lousy. And I just wondered how long that contract is going because that money that we save results in tremendous absenteeism. I was just wondering, what is the length of that contract?
Okay.
Through the mayor, it is a 10-year contract. This
How
is the
many?
first year, 10-year contract.
Aye. Thank you.
Further questions, discussion? Okay. I do want to please relay to the school board and the administration for meeting us a long ways. Appreciate that very much for myself, and I will allow the rest of the assembly to express theirs if they prefer. So thank you very much. Please pass that on to them. We are still under the public hearing for Ordinance 23-023. Is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding this ordinance? Do we have anybody online? We do not. Okay. So I'll go ahead then and close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor?
I move to continue ordinance 23-023 to Tuesday, May 9th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Is there discussion? Is there any objection? Okay, hearing no objection, the legislation then is continued to Tuesday, May 9th at 6 p.m. and it'll be here in the chambers. And I think also regarding that, there was a memo laid on the table tonight from the clerk. I don't know if maybe she'd like to speak to some of that before. Or
Sure.
I guess you could do it when we
Go
do
to comments.
parting.
I'm good with that too.
Go.
Okay. I did hand out a memo regarding the amendments and the budget process. Some of you are familiar with this and in the order that we generally take amendments when we put them in the packet and then an amendment form. So if you have any amendments, you don't necessarily have to fill out the form, but this gives a guideline to help you give us the information we need to make your amendment for you. But if you guys if you have amendments, please give it to us by Monday. If you want to make them Tuesday, that way we can get them out to the assembly members. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about that? Everybody's found the piece of paper that was on the desk? Okay. All righty, so I guess we are ready now for mayor and assembly and staff comments. Assemblyperson Fauna, do you have parting comments, sir?
I'm going to bring up same thing I brought last time when we had a very short meeting, and I really hope that, especially when the assembly itself doesn't object, to have a little more discussion about certain things that are really apply and we're ready to discuss, to be able to do that, especially if the speaker hasn't used all the time, when we have some else clarification that we can do. And then I also think if, I could have spun my question around and make it sound like it's a budget question too, somehow related. So I think it should be fair that not just to one member of assembly over the other to allow ask questions, not the other. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Assemblyperson Hours, parting comments?
Just again, really appreciate the school district working with us. I was at a presentation today with Neil Freed from the State Department of Labor, and just long term, one of our big issues is we are so reliant on property taxes for our revenue. And so whenever we're trying to cut the budget or just balance it, we're doing it on the backs of property owners out here, and we just don't have any other place to go, really. And, one of his statistics, which is only increased over the years, is the number of people who have to commute outside the valley for a decent paying job. And it's up to 40 or 50%. And we're the biggest, he said, we are the biggest supplier of North Slope employees now. So people love to live here, but they can't do their jobs here in a way that allows them to live. So just like trying to find a way to build that up, those sectors that pay more, that will allow us to fund the things that the community says they want, which is good schools and a livable community and a place we can all work. And just on the schools note, there's just so much going on in the schools every day. And the mayor and Mr. Hale and I had the opportunity today to go to Academy Charters World Fair, and 1st through 8th graders were presenting us with their topics, from humanitarians to heroes. I had Neil Armstrong and some woman I had never heard of, Elizabeth Blackwell, who was in the 1800s. Never heard of this woman. She became a nurse when nobody wanted nurses, started medical school. She went blind, and just, fascinating. And this kid, you could not stump them on a question. And then they would ask us questions back that they had just told us about. We'd get them wrong. Where is Neil Armstrong born? And they had just told me Ohio. And I think it starts with an O. But it was just refreshing because you see all the work that is poured into kids. And I'm not saying it to single out that school, because I know there are teachers doing amazing things at schools, and librarians too, that are helping these kids. And, all of them, I said, where are you planning to go? What are you planning to do? And they all were bright, shiny eyed and had answers. And I asked them why they picked the people they did. And they had answers for, why they had thought about that. Not just my teacher told me to do it, or this is dumb, or so. I just say that as a reminder of all these great things that are going on. We celebrate that at the assembly. We did the other night, and it's great and refreshing to see. So just a lot of good happening out there. And it was a feel good event for me to talk to those kiddos. And now that mine have moved on from that age. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, in the spirit of budget season, I wanted to take a minute to, it is the biggest part of our budget is our school district. And so I wanted to say thanks to all of our teachers. I have my 3rd child graduating high school from this district here in a couple of weeks. And it is my goal that we continue to produce the highest test scores in the state. And we've been doing that locally. I honestly, with all my heart, feel like we have the best teachers in the state by far. Some things that go into attracting talent are high wages and low cost of living, and we're doing that as well. We live in the greatest place in Alaska, in my opinion. Housing is affordable out here. I hope that as contract negotiations progress, that our teachers out here wind up the highest paid in the state again, and that they're given some more insurance options. I do hope that the district's looking at different ways to help our teachers reduce their costs on insurance, and I think they know what I mean by that. We've discussed this in the past, but I wanted to put that back out there again. So I'm grateful to everyone that helped get my third child through the process, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I feel like we're pretty blessed to be out here. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, parting comment? Mike, parting comment?
Yeah, I'll be brief, Madam Mayor. I do want to say thanks to school district. I especially appreciate working with Katie. We've had some good coordination over the past month or so in trying to work through this. And I agree. I do think a fiscal plan makes sense. Like, we want to be able to look at things, beyond just tomorrow. But I also think that what the school board did recognizes that things change within a given year. And there are opportunities to make adjustments at times. And maybe it's not going to be the same next year, but it does create an opportunity this year to provide some relief, and I think something that would be a better outcome for the community. So I appreciate that work. It's a much different tone and conversation than maybe it was even a year ago. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Assembly Person 2, parting comments, sir?
I'd like to say thank you to the school district too. And by doing what they've done here, it makes it a lot easier on us. So thank you.
Assembly Person McKee, parting comments?
Yeah, I think 5 million, that's a start. I think we could go further. And another comment, the person who was talking about the school district paying our dues, we pay I'm no longer a member of the union, but we pay our own dues. I've never ever heard in 26 years of the school district paying our dues, so that it's not going there. So I'll save the rest for other budget deliberations.
Okay, all righty. Mr. Attorney, parting comments?
Can we get it all done in one night? Actually, I drove by the town in Ohio where Neil Armstrong is from, and there's a moon, like a billboard moon thing. It's huge. You can't miss it if you drive by. That's it.
Assembly Person Manera on the phone. Are you still on there, sir? Parting comments?
I am.
Okay.
I wanted to thank the school district for taking back the $5 million. That's going to definitely help our residents, and anything that we can whittle down. We need to be mindful of what we're doing as in the valley here. But first, I really would just like to thank God for all the blessings that he bestows on the valley, for the people here in the valley, bring us all together to work together. People that are responsible for other people's children and stuff, please, Lord, give them morals and ideals that would follow your word and act in the best interest for all here, Lord. Please, I want to ask you for just help all the people that are hurting right now, people that are addicted to stuff, the people that are going through hard times. And we just want to thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen.
Assembly Person Ponoff, I want to just share with you that I too many times have had frustrations regarding not being able to respond to the people that come forth, in public hearings and things like that. I honestly don't know if there could be a change in our code or our agenda or something. And so you're welcome to work with the clerk and the attorney to see if there is a solution for some of your frustrations, and maybe some of the rest of the assembly share that also. But I think that's the only way that I know to handle it at this time. So do you have a question you'd like to ask the attorney?
Yeah, to attorney, is there, how does these rules are being set? Is it some that's actually applied or voted by assembly, or how it is as far as the time we allow each speaker, and if we're allowed to make a comment or ask for a clarification, if somebody just makes a blanket statement that doesn't apply, I just want to know the rules as far as that goes and what it takes to change.
The rules of assembly procedure are set by the assembly. I mean, again, we can get together as the mayor suggested with the clerk and I, we can sit down with you and we can talk about whatever your concerns are and talk about changing them. State law is very clear. Rules of procedure are set by the assembly.
And just, and if I could, Madam
Sure.
Mayor, the issue with tonight is we were on public hearing. We were on a budget public hearing, so that can be only the thing that's talked about at that particular time. So we can't be bringing up parks and recs and trails unless it has to do with the budget. That was the issue tonight.
Well, in past, when it was just a regular comment, that was not the budget related, somebody making an, as a clarification, I've attempted to ask a question, and I wasn't able to, even though I don't think us, the rest of the assembly would have objected to that. So I wanted to know if what it takes to for that to change, because I believe when the public wants to speak something and sometimes they're asking a question, we should be able to, if we choose to give answer or ask for a clarification.
If I could add to that.
Sure.
I can see two issues that could occur, Assemblymember Fonoff. So you may be interested in a particular item while 4 assembly members aren't. The other issue that could happen is you have 15 people here giving comment to the assembly, but you're only asking one person something. And the rest are going to say, why aren't you asking me questions? And that can be a problem. That's some of the issues that it can occur. And I've seen it through the years. But ultimately, it is up to the assembly.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I think everybody up here wants to really have great dialogue with the community. But I think we'd be here till midnight, and actually not even that. That's not the issue. I think, like the clerk said, we would probably end up upsetting a lot of the members of the community if they felt like we were picking who that we had dialogue with. And because there's 7 different people up here, inevitably we would end up hurting a lot of feelings, and it would not look very professional. So I think tradition has always been, I've only been here 3 years, but I think tradition has been that we have that dialogue either briefly in our closing comments, or that we then go and seek out that member of the public and have our own dialogue with them. So, but if that helps clarify, so thank you.
And just to piggyback on that, I mean, that's the same thing I've seen, is that fairness issue. I've also seen it kind of devolve into an argument. And I guess when I have asked questions, or I've seen it done this way, where you kind of restrict your clarifying question to something if you just flat didn't understand what the person was saying, who they were, or what business they represented. But then those follow-up questions, I guess it's been my practice to find them after the meeting and kind of get into more of the details. But that's just my 2 cents. I mean, I love having the dialogue, but I've also seen kind of the downside, and definitely the fairness issue comes into play if one person gets 10 minutes to really dive into their opinion and the rest, got 3, and they don't have any control over that. We only would have control over it.
I didn't say we changed time, how much speaking. I said we can still keep it at 3, that timer still goes. And if there's especially when people making statement, I've not been here that long, but I've seen some personal attacks or finger pointing. And I personally, not to defend another assemblyman, but I would like to ask that person, what did that really mean? Or how would that apply to me personally, or to whoever? And as far as fairness, I mean, in the Willow community, we pretty much had a couple of people where they went just back and forth as almost as in conversation. And then it just seemed like when needed, the rules were applied. But then when we have time and legitimate questions wanted to be asked, certain assembly members are being just shut down. That's just my concern. And I think we can make it fair, and we can make it so that, and if assembly chooses to clarify something, I think we should be able to do that. Maybe you have a small limit of a time or something, or maybe limited to just 1 or 2 questions in the evening. But I think there's a reasonable way to go about it to have that conversation. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, thank you.
I turned it off, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. Okay. So with that, being no objections, I guess, we will adjourn at 52 p.m.